Damn, bro, you gonna pull the strap out? Okay, look, I was just playing.
Throughout my many reviews and as of recently reactions for Dead Battle Season 10, there's been quite a few times where I was like, that's it, this is my new favorite Dead Battle ever. And whether it was sheer epicness, emotional impact, massive animation or personal significance, each time I wasn't sure if they were ever gonna top themselves, and if so, well, how? Then this episode. This episode came in boasting all 4 fields I just mentioned at once, resulting in an animation I watched like a dozen times by the time of this recording. But first, in the name of fairness, let's get the negatives out of the way. They mentioned how the previous draw ever was Segata vs Chuck Norris, despite it being Pinkie Pie vs Deadpool, and during the Time War scene, Scooby changes from using his right paw to the left one.
Now back to the good.
The breakdowns are amazing. Generally speaking, I love the personalized feat section they have relating to what motivates them, aka food and love respectively, their friendship being mentioned in both of their analyses serving as a great foreshadowing for the quote battle will go, and the whole tidbit about the real life breeds and how accurate do either of them or not, aka not at all and a lot respectively, really gives the episode its own identity and personality. They do a great job in covering Scooby's extensive history throughout pretty much all forms of media, from live show to Game Boy games. I love the considerable amount of references to Mr. Incorporated specifically, aka the best Scooby-Doo adaptation, even with the omission of any elaboration on Scooby-Doo's true nature as an Anunnaki. I mean, without godly things get later on, might as well let them know Scooby shares ancestry with some Wagon. Regarding the cutaway jokes, I don't know, the funniest laugh that got out of me here was Boomstick stuttering as he describes Scooby's gun shooting actual fear, not just spiritual, metaphorical or any sort of fancy way. For me, the most consistent thing about recent Boomstick humor this season is honestly that less is more, rather than prolonging the joke for reasons. I really like how Scooby analysis bookends with the whole Scooby-Doo where are you question, first being answered by his mass media presence despite humble origins in more ways than one, then answer it later on by mentioning how he pretty much graduated to a world-saving hero. But what about the breakdown for Courage? Quite possibly my favorite childhood cartoon of all time, one of my favorite protagonists of all time, and essentially a comfort character for me. It's fantastic as well. To match Scooby's expensive history, they use pretty much every single piece of Courage's. So the main series, pilot episode, comics, CGI short and a crossover. They get his core traits right away, aka his heart of gold and devotion to Muriel. But I'm particularly glad they delve into his intelligence too, which is more about creating stuff and making up plans rather than tricking people. He does that too, but it's not the main thing he uses his brain for. He'd rather befriend you than gaslight you. Boomstick's tangent about anxiety and how it enhances the problems around you while mentally holding you back is dead ass a better mental health message than every single better sponsorship they ever did. The music choices during these bits is something I rarely touch upon, but the harmonica at the start and the silly tune at the end really feel like music straight out of Courage, so props to the haters. One of these being Galaxy Max from the Multiverse Matchup series, who not only has a great debut with this episode, but Scooby vs Courage is also one of the most wanted matchups ever, so I can only imagine how much of a dream this has been to him. Link in the description if you wanna check out his channel. They bring up Courage's Italian name, of all things, which I can only guess is due to how popular it is with Italian fans like me. And with Leone being how I've been calling Courage for most of my life, it really feels like this was what for me specifically thingy. This following thing is something honestly only that battle can bring, but it's just so cool to have Courage shape-shifting powers being described under, you know, the perspective of being an actual superpower rather than silly cartoon dog or being silly. The humor in Courage's analysis is also much better, be it subtle things like saying, oh he's immune to pain, he's fine, while showing in clips of him being suddenly not fine, or showing the Pentagon while talking about excessive amounts of bomb throwing. I see you, DB, I see you. Or how hysterical it is to have Boomstick hype up Eustace as a super villain while a straight out of nowhere music video itself dances in hell, almost as to say, oh yeah, that's me, who's bad? Now, whether Eustace is indeed this complete monster to describe or a genuine victim of abuse, honestly depends on episode to episode, so I'm honestly fine with the characterization they give him here and later, really. I love the clip they showed at the end while calling Courage a protector, because on top of how cute it is to see Courage dressed as a gladiator, the humor comes from just how much he doesn't suit them at all. While he is essentially a guardian for his own guardians, he's not really a fighter per se, which is ironic because we're gonna delve into the fight right now, and at the risk of sounding like a cliché that battle reviewer, where even to start? Well, I'ma start by actually compensating a bit for how little praise I gave to the 3D background in the last episode, that being Gojima. The mall not only is a great environment for both as it fits their respective settings, but also because it gives a lot of fun dimensions to work on. The same applies to this spooky mansion, beautifully rendered both inside and out. Really reminded me of the one for Scooby-Doo 2 Monsters Unleashed of all things, down to the presence of Black Knights. It also gives both dogs the chance to do their respective iconic door gags, and is the perfect setting general for the unique dynamic of the fight, let's say. Scooby and Courage are calling out to the respective human owners they're the closest to, which is very cute, as we right away get introduced to quite possibly some of the best hand-drawn work in the entire series. The art style manages to beat both almost one-on-one to the actual designs, still leaves some room for Dead Battle's own art style. Speaking of accuracy, I have to praise both voice actors, Billy Burson III and Edward Bosler respectively, for pretty much almost perfectly capturing both Frank Welker and Martin Grabstein performances. And I'm not saying Scooby is quote easier to replicate, but Bosco's Courage just eats every single right note, from the gibberish, screams, howling, catchphrases, just pretty much perfect. Billy does get a star moment too, but that's for way later. They bump into each other just like in the crossover movie, having the scare of their lives, before recognizing each other, laughing it off. Courage even doing the absolutely adorable "ho you" gesture. I swear man, they perfectly nailed just how precious Courage can get, most of the time. But the relief is not fated to last, as a claymation-made monster resembling a useless mask starts chasing after them, prompting the hectic rock and roll track to blast in the background. Now, how do you make these two lovable cowards, canonically established as friends, fight each other? I'm gonna be honest, the way they decide to work around that is kinda genius. It all starts with Scooby telling Courage to deal with the monster since he's too scared to do so. To which Courage is like, me? And both him and the camera point towards the monster in a way, "Are you seeing this shit?" way, panicking some more, before making Scooby trip on his paws and run away, since he is too scared to do so. Now, is this straight up out of character for Courage? Well, there was that one time where he voluntarily too used as a box for demonic arms. Would you look at that? Offended, Scooby initiates a thumb war to decide who gets to deal with the monster, and wins by cheating, so Courage pulls out a gun, and things escalate from here. This whole fight is basically one huge game of you go to deal with the monster. No, you go. Between indestructible Toon Force dogs, all while the monster is chasing them with scrunching intent. It's honestly brilliant. I love how it's a total reversal of the previous Halloween Death Battle, since we go from the fighters being the monsters chasing victims to the fighters being the victims running away from the monster. I also love the inclusion of Courage's chicken gun. It's technically been a part of the trilogy of sorts for Courage. The alien chicken from the pilot, the vengeful turkey Sarah from season 1, and is also in season 4. It's a recognizable item from his history, and I really like how it's the one thing he pulls out. After some stretchy laser dodging, he then vaporizes Scooby's head, having an horrified reaction to it. Scooby regenerates chuckling, and Courage smiles in relief as he resumes shooting. Scooby takes a page out of his opponent's book as he uses a mirror to affect lasers, except Courage splits himself in half to dodge it. He's so extra in everything, I love it. I especially love the contrast between Scooby's clean, nice and kid-friendly regeneration with Courage's grotesque and gory, both in visual sound effects, body manipulation. It's pretty much the equivalent of that one scene of Bill vs Discord, squeezing each other, one makes toy noises, while the other's eyeball enlarges in gross fashion. Another detail I really like is that the laser that does land on Scooby is the one that Courage shot in the direction he was about to be in, instead of being in. Subtle display of his intelligence here. I wish there was more outsmarting on his part throughout the fight, but he doesn't get tricked by any of Scooby's mind games either, so it's fine. I really like that Courage gets to display various moments of concern for the person he's fighting, even if canonically established friend. His compassion is a huge component of his character. Granted, nothing outbreaking happens, thankfully given the nature of this battle, but I'm still very glad it's there. We get a classic Scooby-Doo sequence that lasts long enough to not outlive its welcome, and Courage gets his own door sequence in return, referencing the one in Courage and the Big Sticking City, where the pink doggo is verified by both realistic and claymation footage. Now, claymation is something Courage the Colored Dog indulged in a few times. You may recognize it most recently from the blackface gag from Smiling Friends, or the video game Clay Fighter, which included a character called Mr. Frosty. Hey, wait a minute, yeah, between 3D backgrounds, hand-drawn animation and stop-motion claymation, this battle honestly masters medium blending in a way that unexpectedly almost rivals Spillcore. He opens to see Godzilla, the perfect gag for how many times Courage encountered Ghidorah, who is famed to actually notice him in this clip right here. Thank goodness it's not Sutomation Giant's Godzilla. And yes, Colombo. You might ask what is up with Colombo references in recent seasons, and well, basically Death Battle writer Liam Swan really wants Colombo vs. Light Yagami to happen as an actual episode. a la Ultimate Detective vs Ultimate Criminal sort of way. How serious are the chances of this actually happening and how much this is just a shitpost has kinda become up to debate, so let's just keep hoping they go for knocking on that store instead. Courage sees right through Scooby disguises, he's got a knack for that, and reacts to such sights with horror instead of horniness. Pulling out the computer and, well, trying to work around him not being aware of Scooby by indirectly roasting him. But the Great Dane tries to roast Courage in return as they perform the Zabriskie triangle, which is so powerful it cracks the monitor and burns the Kuro's eyes. On top of being a crazy way of visualizing his power, it's also confirmed that a simulation run by Wits is basically one big simulated universe, which begs the question of what kind of graphic card this poor computer uses to run that. Courage uses the Godbone to smash both his opponent and the mystery machine under it, getting hit by the chest of demons in a admittedly accurate display of how his luck usually goes even when things do go as he planned. Except not even that, as the meteor rolls over into the pile of Super Scooby's necks Scooby is currently snacking on, powering up intimidatingly. Courage does this classic catchphrase, which I was sure they were going to bring up, except I thought they were gonna have him say, "Oh, my name is Colombo," and he's not, but instead he name drops Chad James, aka the voice actor from Boomstick, in case you didn't know. And whether it's due to Super's Next, the Dark Matter or the Godbone, Scooby goes from widen to wizen as the music stops, and just look at this. The sheer shock of an Azura's Rat reference of all things. Just this happening period even if you don't get the reference. Scooby's voice demonically echoing as his eyes go white and he announces catchphrase in a way that somehow both epic, terrifying and hysterical at once. Punching down the planet as his fist catches on fire and the music kicks in full force. Just wow, man. But nothing, and I mean nothing compares to the next scene, hell, the next shot. Courage alone stands his ground, staying up to the meteor-like fist. His ears say fear, but his body says I am here. Honestly, to me, this shot captures pretty much everything I love about the character. He may be smaller than most of the foes he encounters, and he's absolutely terrified by all of them, but he will stand his ground. That's what Courage does best. He doesn't just win or outsmart. Courage is a survivor. He endures. Unlike his opponent saved by G rating, his regeneration doesn't prevent pain, and gets much more graphic. Hell, Courage himself gets outmaneuvered many times in this fight, but even with the absolute arsenal brought by his opponent, he manages to tank all of it and then some. Courage charges Star-Shattering Scream, which manages to drown out the music, like Scooby covered the visuals earlier, and stop the planet-sized fist coming his way, shattering Wizendu into his normal self. As this commenter brilliantly put, his scream, the essence of raw emotional energy being let out, just shows how much Courage has in his heart. The light within him defies anyone who threatens him and his loved ones. It's beyond anything anyone can truly snuff out. I will say though, Scooby just chomping down a divine artifact that kills mortal dogs and surpasses the influence of the goddess is a very raw moment for him too, to give his props. He is indeed a gluttonous eater and care for anything but the contents of his stomach. Side note, I love how the bruises they do get after make perfect sense, communicating that Scooby broke a tooth landing on Courage's eye. The two doggos proceed to slapping each other with the little remaining strength they have left. However, they stop trading blows period as they cling to each other and Scooby shields both himself and Courage from the monster with a box, meaning he ultimately forgave his friend and gosh, these two are so wholesome together, you know? It just makes for a certain effect for me personally to see someone protect Courage the same way he always protects others. And it's really funny in general, both me and countless others went into this episode with the idea of Scooby being the more quote grounded, cowardly canine of the two, yet Courage is the one who ends up with a pseudo-scientific object, while Scooby gets the essentially the "that's it, you're going to hell" box of demons. Dude really said, "We're men and women, we're to other side." Granted, the former comes from a crossover that definitely tried to paint Courage's weirdness in a more Scooby-Doo hoax light, where there's always a scientific explanation behind it all. But hey, finders keepers. The box of 13 demons opens, and yes, you can actually count 13 pair of eyes, as if the details in this animation needed any more flexing, as the ends grab onto the monster mask, revealing Old Man Bag. Yeah, the mask could have been just a neat Easter egg, but the mallet and managing to get injured while being the aggressor were definitely dead giveaway signs of this monster being used as. The farmer says cut it out as the ends grabbing him literally cut his face open in 6 different slices. Jesus. The Jets devours them and burps, which I like to see as a reference to Lobo Rider. He ultimately loses to a team effort from both Douglas, as in tripping over Courage's meteor is what seals his fate within Scooby's chest of demons. In case you are wondering, or you are somehow unaware, yes, Eustace dying horribly and somehow still managing to complain from beyond the grave is literally how the average episode of Courage ends.
What's your offer?
Well, Muriel, I hate that stupid door!
So the Zoro animation basically starts like a Scooby-Doo episode, but ends like a Courage one, down to the epic banjo at the end. Given now it's ultimately Scooby Arsenal that ultimately saves the day, which I'm perfectly fine with, I mean, Courage got his turn in the limelight last time, the bet he started was ultimately kinda all for nothing. But hey, so are most disputes between friends, really. Honestly, I am as happy as everyone is for the draw, but I'm also glad they went a little beyond the come on, it's your favorite childhood cartoon Douglas. Plus, it's only the third draw in a series in almost of 200 episodes, it's no biggie, and they still managed to abide to the death part of Death Battle in their own way. Nice to see Boomstick hatred for Dark Killers in Carnage vs Lucy and Dio vs Alucard making a return. Onto the teams. Forever Terror Night is yet again another season 10 banger, but I wanna get into a little more detail than usual on why that is. Most obviously, from the title and overall style, melody and lyrics, it's meant to be one huge homage to this Terror Time Again from Scooby-Doo on Zombie Island, specifically during the chase scene for the homonymous zombies. And the animation proper, it goes full force once the chase starts, true to his inspiration. And well, technically the whole battle is one huge chase. Forever Terror Night resembles Terror Time Again as an epic upbeat but intense rock piece for a Scooby-Doo monster chase. The same way Diabolical Invincible Me resembles Bye Bye Tom for a scene of Omni-Man smashing the competition. Hell, you couldn't say the female vocals give it a X-Girls vibe. So yeah, lots of stuff on the Scooby-Doo side of things, and as someone who thinks the soundtrack from Courage the Cowardly Dog goes way harder than it has any business of being, it's kinda disappointing, especially with apparently the lack for the famous Quasar's theme, you know, the dun 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 dun, and makes for the Courage anxiously trying to find a way to fix the problem tune. It's basically his main theme. But then I started listening closely. You can kinda hear some of the Quasar's theme peppered here and there throughout the track, and the title is possibly also referencing Courage Nights of Terrors. So my appreciation for this track went from 100 to 90 and all the way back to 110. Forever Terror Night almost sounds like an event, an endless loop night cycle. Like, you know, the Forever Purge if it was actually cool as it sounded in the Reds. So yeah, new favorite Death Battle episode of all time. And for once I can safely say I highly doubt I'll change this verdict again this season, as very few characters touch my heart like Courage does. But there's anything this episode taught me, that things can always get crazier than anything our hearts can expect. Also obviously looking forward to the next time. A battle that they mention up in geniuses with many alternate selves, except one is the ultimate nihilist while the other is the ultimate optimist. I'm really hoping for an epic speech in pure Doctor Who fashion, and I wouldn't mind another emotionally touching that, given how both the geniuses lost pretty much everything they cared for at one point. Well, on that upbeat note, I'ma go drink some water, you do the same. I'm Uncle Crichton, I hope I made your day slightly better.